What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mobile, Alabama in the 2026 Senior Bowl. This is our Day 3 recap show, so we got a lot to talk about here. Trevor, Sikkema, Max, Chadwick, Dalton, Wasserman, back with you guys once again. And fellas, 3 days now, right? 2 days of full pads, 1 day of just shells at the beginning of the week. And I know we're going to talk about guys who specifically stood out here on Day 3, but man, it really just felt like one of those weeks where every single day it was getting more and more competitive. And this is a big red zone day. So, you know, when you're eliminating some of the space, when it's press coverage, when it's, you know, you got to make sure you make a play immediately, I feel like everything is just taken to another level. So today was just such a fun day.
Thankfully, Trevor, it's heating up on the field and also the temperature, too. Again, this is a little bit warmer than it was the first 2 days, too.
Thankfully.
But you're absolutely right, though. The red zone work today was outstanding for both practices, I thought. It was really cool to see these guys competing as hard as possible out there.
Situationals are a lot of fun, especially when you get the whole team going in practice in full pads. Red zone, like you mentioned, things got physical down near the goal line. 2-minute situations for all the quarterbacks and receivers, especially to get those reps in, because that's going to come up most likely in the game on Saturday. So I think a lot of situationals, third down, 2-minute red zone. It's a lot of fun to see those guys in those real life situations, those competitive situations that they're going to be in games.
Speaking of competing, even at the very end of the practice after it was over,
yes,
Caleb Banks stole a punt return away from one of his offensive linemen too, because he dropped his punt return.
I do love the Day 3 tradition of, for the competition period, I think that we've sent out some clips throughout the week of the very last thing that both of these teams do is always a heavy competition period. So it'll either be a one-on-one rep with an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, or maybe it's a one-on-one rep with a linebacker and a tight end, or a cornerback and a wide receiver, whatever that looks like. But at the end of the week, the final practice, they always do something fun. And today they brought up defensive and offensive linemen fielding punts. And so, I don't know, I always think that's fun. You mentioned Caleb Banks. He had his opportunity to catch one punt, didn't do it, went to the sideline dejected for his defensive side. And then I don't even know who was.
I think it was Fernando Carmona, the guard from Arkansas.
It was his turn to get the win for the offense, and then Caleb Banks ended up catching that one. So I guess we'll give it to him. You're right, it was a little bit more sunny today. You guys didn't get the bucket hat notice.
No, I never get the bucket hat notice. No.
Come on.
Hold
on. You used to coach.
No, I never wore a bucket hat.
Sorry. Not once?
I'm representing your show, Trevor. Apologies. I mean,
bucket hats with the NFLSC logo could slap, though. So
that's true. That's on you.
You might not have an excuse a year from now if we make some bucket hats with an NFL.
I said very few people can pull off a bucket hat. You are one of them. I cannot do it. You borrowed my hat earlier, and you said, "Hey, you can wear mine if you want." Like, Trevor, I can't do it. I'm not gonna. Kirby Smart's walking the sidelines. I'm not gonna wear a bucket hat in front of Kirby Smart.
I had to switch hats with Max when we were on the sideline, and I said to him, "I was like, you could make it a little bit bigger. You could put it on." He was just like, no. I couldn't do that. And I think you just held the hat the whole time. But anyway, speaking of practice, let's dig into it. As we've done for the last couple of days, we're going to go with 3 standouts from each of us. Dalton, you want to start us off?
I'll start.
Make sure I don't forget you when we get through. If I start with you, then I'm not gonna forget you by the time we get to the
Just
ad.
have me go first every time. There's no way you can forget me if I'm going first, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
If you skip over me from Max, then there's a real problem.
So, who are you starting the show with?
As always this week, to me, it's been a heavy defensive showcase throughout these practices, right?
Sure.
I thought the defensive backs were awesome. I'm going to get into a second one in a little bit too, but the cornerback Chandler Rivers from Duke, I thought was one of the best players on the field in the national team practice earlier today. Known as a zone corner, a guy who's a little undersized but has really high IQ. Manny Diaz down there at Duke has him really well taught in that system, but really good man-to-man reps today. The one-on-one drills had a couple of pass breakups, tight end press, tight end man coverage down the field. You even had in the team drills an interception from Bud Clark deep down the field from TCU, but Rivers, that ball wasn't going to be complete anyway because Rivers was in such tight coverage. I really love today that he challenged receivers in man-to-man coverage. It's not something he's used to doing a lot, but it was awesome today to see him get better. I thought he had a decent first 2 days. He was outstanding today.
Yeah, he was somebody who, before the week, I was really excited to see because I watched him over summer and I really liked what I saw. Elite 90.7 overall defensive grade in 2024. Wasn't as good this past season, and so I was like, okay, well, was it just kind of a down year for him overall when he was at Duke, and is he really going to show out here? Those first 2 days you mentioned, I was like, I didn't really see him. Like, I didn't really notice him, which is sometimes good for a corner. But today, you're right. The red zone period, he really stood out. If you take a look at him on the big board, which you guys can see on the screen right now, you go over to pff.com/big board. And you could see all of this for yourself if you have that PFF Plus subscription. 80.7 coverage grade. You see that man coverage grade there, right there, what Dalton was just talking about. 76.3 overall grade. Run defense pretty good as well, although, run defense with corners, you don't get to see a ton of that here at this event. But I'm glad that Chandler Rivers stood out because he was somebody that I really enjoyed over summer.
And you mentioned that 90.7 grade they had in 2024. That was the best of any Power 4 corner that year, too. So you had an elite 2024, still a pretty good overall 2025, I would say, too. But you're absolutely right. He really stood out today.
Max?
I got to shout out Kyle Lewis, man. I've been blown away by the linebackers, this week, and he was flying around the football today. Now, Kyle Lewis is a guy who's kind of built like a safety a little bit at 6'1", 220 pounds. If you're built that way, you better be good in coverage, and he absolutely was. He had one rep in one-on-ones that I loved, where he picked it off, and he ran it all the way back, I think 90 yards to the other end zone.
Yeah, you got to do it.
And the coach was like, dude, you can stop.
You got to finish.
And one of the coaches actually ran with him. He was awesome. He had a few pass breakups in the one-on-ones, and then what I love too, in the team practice portion, he was really good as a run defender. He laid the boom a lot in the run defense too. Again, for a guy who's 220 pounds, kind of looks like a safety out there. I think he'll be really interesting to see how he's used in the NFL. I think a very smart defensive coach, like say Mike McDonald, what he did with Nick and Manwari this year in Seattle. I think he's another kind of defensive chess piece you could probably get on day 3 of the draft.
Definitely a tweener, but he had a great week and he was awesome today. Even I made a point to go over and watch the individual drills for linebackers today, and his footwork was just different than the rest of those guys.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he's lighter. I believe he came in here at about 224 pounds or so
right.
Certainly lighter and certainly a guy who you'd have to kind of convince yourself can be a 3-down linebacker. But you mentioned it, excellent in space, excellent footwork, fantastic coverage, and a nose for the football at all times. That is going to get him probably an early day 3 selection.
I thought the ways that you would want to see Kyle Lewis stand out this week, he did, especially on day 3 when he's more comfortable, more confident, recognizing things, anticipating things a little bit better, not just reacting, but anticipating to things. And man, when I was watching him in the red zone drill, even when it was just one-on-ones, him versus a tight end, him versus a wide receiver, he was confident, and he knew that he could athletically keep up with all of these guys, and I thought that really showed today. And so I think he's going to have a lot of fans in this draft class simply because he is a faster linebacker. Like he is somebody who plays the position with a lot of speed, and I think sometimes we can get a little bit carried away with, oh, wow, look at how fast this linebacker prospect is. And then sort of to what you talked about, comes in at 5'11", 224 pounds. I mean, that's going to be single digit, like 5th percentile for basically like all linebackers in the NFL. So you better win with speed. But he did.
Yeah.
And so this was one of those weeks where you go, can you check the boxes the way that I need you to? In 2024, he had an 83.4 overall defensive grade. This past year, a 73.1. That run defense grade, despite him being a little bit lighter, still a 75.3 this past season. The coverage grade above 70s as well. Missed tackle rate, not as bad as you would think it would be for a smaller linebacker. And so I just think he's going to have a ton of fans in this draft class. And I think that his Senior Bowl practice tape will only help that.
Yeah, one of the best moments of the day, too, is after he was making so many plays in the team practice portion period. He came to the sidelines, and so many teams are hyping him up. They're like, dude, you're going to the league. You're going to the league. And he goes, yeah, I know. And I was like, dude, hell yeah, man. So Kyle Lewis.
That is awesome.
It's kind of why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole point.
Actually, all of you are going to the league. You're all at the Senior Bowl right now. So I think all of you should be pretty proud of that. But they're all like, dude, you're going to the league, man. You're going to be on. He's like, yeah, I know.
I do love it.
Yeah.
I love that. My first guy that I want to talk about, we haven't talked a lot about quarterbacks here this week because we knew that it wasn't the best crop of quarterbacks that we've seen at a Senior Bowl. However, I do want to shout out Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback from Baylor, because in the 2-minute drill I would say the red zone drill and the 2-minute drill, when his team was out there, he was operating it by far the best of any quarterback that we had seen to that point. Now, I think that Nussmeier did a pretty good job this past practice that we just saw as well, so I'll give him a shout out. But Robertson is somebody who, in a class where there's just not a lot of solidified quarterback talent, at least he's got an NFL caliber arm. And I think that there have been inconsistencies over the first 2 days of practice, no doubt about it, but at least he showcased, okay, when I put it all together, when the accuracy is there, this is what it looks like. And I felt like he did a really good job in the 2-minute drill earlier. And then there was even a little bit of a quarterback keeper. I think it was an RPO play that they had down in the red zone where he walked in so much so that I was he was kind of like running right at me of where I was.
Oh, he almost ran me over, yeah.
And he was laughing. You remember?
Yeah,
he was
laughing,
like laughing about how easy it was and how he fooled everybody. So he has at least the physical tools that you would want from the position. Like I mentioned, the consistency, it needs to be better from him. Adjusted completion percentage below 70%, which when you talk about adjusted completion percentage, you really want that at the very least in like the low 70s. His was a 67.2 this past season. So it just showcases those consistency work. The consistency work for him needs to be better, but overall, he's got that baseball pitcher background to him. Like he has the tools, and at least we saw it here on day 3 from Robertson.
Definitely better command of the offense, I thought, from several of these quarterbacks on day 3. It's really taken them a while to get everything procedurally down, and you're trying to you're coming into an environment with a bunch of players you've never played with, and you're trying to learn a whole offense in 3 days and get ready for a game on Saturday, right? So it's tough. It's a lot of mental strain on these quarterbacks, but he did throw the ball better today. The accuracy, I think, has been up and down for the entire group, honestly. When you look at all of these guys, they've all had some big-time moments, but there's also been times where it's been inconsistent. The throw down the seam into Tampa, too, where the linebacker was a little bit late, I think that was the best throw that we saw all day.
I
from
agree.
Robertson, I believe, to Matthew Hibner, the tight end from SMU.
Yep.
That was the best throw we saw all day, and that's what he is. When he's clean back there and he's got time to set his feet and make those throws, he's capable of it, and he's a vertical passer. That's the way he worked at Baylor. He wants to chuck it down the field.
And I do want to say this about him, too. A lot of his best work, I thought, when I was watching his film, was outside the number stuff. It goes, okay, there's press coverage on the outside. I'm going to go give my wide receiver a chance to make a play on it. And it felt like that was his vertical offense, but it was outside the number vertical offense. So for him to hit a seam pass that's sort of over the middle, not quite as like between the hash marks over the middle, but sort of over the middle, that's what you also really want to see from him, because he was one of those quarterbacks that did not grade out very well in that intermediate middle of the field, 10 to 19 yards. That's an area that I like to use our data to filter and put quarterbacks in, because it's such an important part of the field that if you don't attack that on a regular basis in the NFL, you're allowing very fast defenses to not have to cover that part of the field nearly as much as they would. You want to make NFL defenses cover every blade of grass or turf, depending on which stadium that you're in. And it's just such an important part of doing that is being willing to throw middle of the field. And so, again, that's just a throw where, yes, it showcases the physical talent, but it also showed, okay, you didn't do a lot of this at Baylor, and it shows that, okay, he's willing to do it. Maybe it'll be something that he could get better at when he was in the league.
Yeah, it was cool to see him, like I said, show off the mobility a little bit too, because he did that a lot at Baylor. And you guys mentioned before, this is a brand new offense for him and so many other quarterbacks, and it's way different than the one that Baylor ran this past year too. So again, I was impressed by him out of all the quarterbacks. It's not been a great week overall for the QBs, but Sawyer Robertson at least made some splash plays today.
Dalton, who we got at number 2?
Number 2, I'm actually going to go right back to the ACC with another cornerback on the national team. Let's go to Duke's rival, North Carolina. Thaddeus Dixon.
Let's go, baby.
Had an outstanding. I know he's your guy.
Let's go, baby.
All week. I thought he struggled a little bit in the first 2 days. He had a big bounce back.
Nah, we don't care about that. Don't mention that part.
Hey,
No.
You want to talk about man-to-man coverage, though, and an aggressive corner that's going to keep battling in man coverage? That's Thaddeus Dixon to his T. That's how he was at Washington. That's how he was at North Carolina, and he really competed. He got in press man, really did a better job of getting his hands on receivers like he wants to. So there's times where you go, man, he's giving up clean releases. Guys are getting those quicker routes on him, but today he was locked down, had a pick 6 in the team drill as well that punctuated, I believe, a 2-minute period actually off of Robertson. So up and down both ways, the defense was winning a lot of battles, but this to me was a big bounce back day for Thaddeus Dixon as well.
One of the coolest moments too was after that pick 6, his dad was in the front row of the stands. He was going, "That's my son. That's my." He's like, "You see that, Pops? You see that, Pops?" It was a really cool father-son moment right there with Thaddeus Dixon. But you guys are absolutely right. He's got like an up and down career over his time at Washington, North Carolina. But I was impressed by him too today.
The good from him is honestly why I feel like he's one of the more underrated players in the class. And going into this year, he had a 78.2 overall defensive grade last season. It wasn't as strong this year. 65.5 overall grade. And you mentioned man coverage, I feel like, is where he can really thrive. And he did struggle a good amount this year. Didn't get to play a full season. I believe he only played 7 games, but just a 57.4 grade in man coverage. But I agree with you, like, that to me is where he is at his best. And he had a really good game in that first game against TCU, and Josh Hoover's their quarterback, and Eric McAllister is one of their wide receivers. Who's the younger one? Number 7 on TCU, the wide receiver.
Jordan Dwyer.
Yes. And so, like, these wide receivers, these are pretty good wide receivers, and I felt like Thaddeus Dixon was really shutting them down. And McAllister didn't really get a lot of looks, and I think a big reason why is because he was able to shadow him for most of the game. And so it just goes to it's not consistent with him yet, but any NFL team that needs a man coverage type of a corner, they play a lot of man coverage, you at least feel good about drafting this guy somewhere around the mid-rounds. It feels like, okay, he's probably going to be a day 3 pick at this point, but round 4, round 5, I really like him being a depth and developmental man coverage corner for an NFL team.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I mentioned before, Dixon is a guy that, again, like most corners in college and the NFL, they're going to have up and down games, up and down seasons, but today at least he was really, really good out there.
Yeah. When you see that potential, it's hard to not be like, God, okay, still, give me that, and let's see if we can make it a little bit more consistent. Max, who's your second guy?
So I want to preface this by saying I'm very easily bought. So,
Okay.
Before I get into what I'm going to say right now is, though, LT Overton's mom came up and she said that she loves both the PFF NFL show and the PFF college football show.
Wow,
and she was talking to me about LT. So I wasn't like, okay, I'm not automatically going to do him, but I was like, I'm going to have more of an eye on him. That way, hopefully, I could do him.
Sure.
And something that she told me was, during the first 2 days of practice, they had him working mostly with the defensive tackles.
Yes.
And she said that today he's going to work with the edge rushers, and he called her up and said, Mom, I can't wait to do this. So he went out there, and he had a rep against Markel Bell that I loved, where Bell was ready for the bull rush, because, of course, LT Overton is a 280-pound edge rusher, and he had a nasty swim move on Markel Bell as well. So LT Overton, I thought overall, he was disruptive as a run defender, too, disruptive as a pass rusher, friend of the program now as well.
There you go.
He had a great year in 2024. I think this guy's probably going to go somewhere in the second round of the draft, but I was pretty impressed by him, at least an edge rusher today.
Shout out to LT Overton and his family, being big fans of the show. We appreciate you guys.
He's going to make his money as a versatile, heavy-handed run defender. I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought he really jumped out to me off the edge in the team drills. Him and his teammate Tim Keenan on the inside, man. They're just really good run defenders. Alabama knows how to teach those guys to two-gap off the edge. They really know how to set the edge, and Overton's a guy who can reduce down inside too, play that 4-eye, play that 5 technique. So a versatile, heavy-handed run defender first and foremost. You got to develop a little more as a pass rusher, but there's a pretty good base to work with there.
I agree. I think his best work has always come from run defense, and I think 2 years ago the reason why we were talking about him as a future NFL draft pick is because in that Alabama system, he would play a 4-eye technique. He would play a 5-tech. Just depending on what the front wanted him to do, he would give you a pretty good baseline of it. Now, he didn't show the pass rush chops or the pass rush progression that we wanted him to while he was at Alabama, but I specifically noted him in the individual defensive drills really showing some acceleration and some explosiveness and some tight corners around some of the bag drills that they were doing. And so it's easy to watch LT Overton and just see the player that he is, how well built he is, obviously coming from a premier program like Alabama, and not say like, okay, any sort of defense that is multiple in what they do, and a lot of odd front defenses sort of like lean into that. You'd feel pretty good about drafting somebody like this, especially run stop rate. You guys just saw on the screen again. That's from the PFF big board, 9.7%. That's one of the highest percentages and the highest solo run stop rates that we had in the country this past season. Pass rush win rate, just 8.8%. You'd love for that to be a little bit higher, even for a good run defender, but there's a lot of potential in what he does.
And I do wonder if a team were to put him, say, on the strong side of a 4-man front, because Alabama, especially as the year went on, they went to a lot more 3-man fronts. They were just kind of asking him to play the 5 and hold up in 2-gap along with Keenan and some other guys on the inside there. So you wonder if there's a team out there that does let him widen out a little bit, if there is more pass rush potential just based on alignment there.
Your boy Cyrus Allen, who you talked to me about before the event even started, right? I think that it was before the event. You're like, hey, the Cincinnati wide receiver, like, I think you had said that you watched him right before we came here, and you're like, there's something to him. Like, he's a really good route runner, really good body control. That is exactly what he has been the entire week. He is my second standout here, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. And those first 2 days that I was watching him in the one-on-one drills, he was doing exactly what you said. That great body control, that great quickness, that route running. It was so apparent that he was able to create that early separation. And then you look at a day like day 3, which is the red zone portion of things. And sure, when you get down towards the red zone, you can have like the whip routes and the quick slants, and you can win that way. And I figured that Cyrus Allen would win that way. And he did have a couple of reps where he absolutely did. But then they threw him one of those fade passes, one of those somewhat slot fade passes, and he went up full extension. He's a smaller guy, so you have full extension. It's not like a Malachi Fields like we saw the other day, but he is attacking the ball at the highest point towards the sideline. I don't think he got both feet down, but he got at least one, and the other one was close. And I saw what I needed to see from him. That I go, okay, I already know you're a great route runner. Now I know you can go up and get it. I think he is the wide receiver that I feel is now maybe the most underrated of anybody that there's no love from him. I didn't hear anything about him coming into this week and leaving it. I think that we could talk about an early day 3 selection of somebody that's going to make a wide receiver coach really happy.
He's a guy too. It's funny because he was a late ad, and I think one of the guys he was replacing was Deion Burks was invited, and then I believe he dropped out just before, maybe a week before. And to me, they're very similar players, right? Like, they're not the most physical guys. They're obviously a little bit undersized, but when they get clean releases, look out.
Yeah.
I mean, and,
yes.
and I love the way that he worked his releases out of press coverage, because my biggest concern with him is, one, at the catch point, contested catches like that, like you mentioned, it's great to see that because there's not a ton of that on his tape. And two, how can he get off press? Is he a guy that's going to avoid contact, or he's going to find a way to work through it with his release package and be a little more physical, maybe even put a little more weight on? But as a route runner, he was absolutely one of the best ones here all week.
Yeah, only 660 yards this past year. And ironically, I would say one of the biggest weaknesses for Cincinnati this past year was their wide receivers. So I think he was kind of underutilized, really. The more you watch him here at the Senior Bowl, like, man, they had something at wide receiver in Cyrus Allen. They didn't really utilize him, I think, as much as they should have.
And they had Brandon Sorsby as their quarterback, and he's a big-armed quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And like Jeff Caldwell, who we saw at Shrine Bowl, like he was somebody who that was the highlight, deep passes. Joe Royer's in that offense as well. And I just wonder if Royer's presence actually was just a deterrent from Allen getting the ball a little bit more. Because Royer was just such a high-volume tight end that they kind of run somewhat similar routes and the concepts and when you would want to get the ball in these guys' hands. Royer, I felt like, was their default there, and that might have been why Allen didn't get the ball as much as we thought he should have.
They were super run heavy. Sorsby as a runner, Tawi Walker, Evan
too.
Pryor, future Florida Gator, Evan Pryor.
A great O-line too.
They had an outstanding offensive line. They were really run heavy, so when they got ahead in games, they were just going to keep running the football. Right? So there wasn't a lot of games where Sorsby had 35, 40
This is the college football knowledge, folks, from the PFF College Football Show, all right? I'm over here as a draft guy, like, why didn't we get this guy the ball a little bit more? And these guys are able to give me the appropriate context.
Before all Cincinnati receivers, get in the comment section right now, he did have 12 touchdown catches, which was one of the most in the country, actually. So that was, you mentioned before, in the red zone.
So they used him when it mattered.
Yeah, in the red zone, too. Like, so you mentioned before. So I was really impressed by Cyrus Allen. There's not a lot of receivers that really stood out to me this week, but he was certainly one of them.
Max, talk to good people about Western Southern.
Absolutely. Our game plan of the week, I should say, not mine, is presented by Western and Southern.
Depends on if it's good or not.
Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. My game plan of the week, I have to say, Caleb Banks today. So the coaches in the one-on-ones for offensive linemen and defensive linemen are like, all right, guys, wrap it up. We're all good. And Banks is like, no, I want one more. I want one more against Jeremiah Wright. Because Jeremiah Wright, of course, is talking smack all week. He got his one more rep. He beat Jeremiah Wright clean. He got in his face afterwards. So Caleb Banks getting one more rep against Jeremiah Wright and one more chance to show that he could be a first-round pick in this upcoming NFL draft. And just like every team win starts with a great game plan, your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect you and your family so you can focus on winning today, knowing tomorrow is covered. Whether you're just starting out, building your dynasty, or looking to lock in long-term protection, their coverage options are designed to match your game plan. Visit westernsouthern.com/PFF to get your free life quote and start building your financial game plan today. Western and Southern, built to win, backed by over 130 years of helping people protect what matters most.
Max, I will stay with you here as we get to our third round of players that stood out here for day 3. Who you got?
So yesterday I shouted out Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech, who was phenomenal yesterday and today, I thought too. The guy who's kind of like that at safety, where he's an awesome college player, and I get it, there's some measurable concerns and all that, but Michael Taaffe, man, he was once again one of the leaders on defense, I thought, in this group, and he had one big hit that jarred a football loose in the team period. He was constantly coaching up his other safeties, his other cornerbacks out there too. He has had had 80-plus PFF grades in back-to-back years, one of
Yeah.
the highest-graded safeties in the country over the last 2 years, a former walk-on at Texas as well. He also did come up to us and said he's a fan of the show.
I was
so
going
again,
to say,
very,
where's the
bought
actual
here.
reason you put him in here? I know it's coming. You're stalling. You're doing the full eval, all the reps. You got the photographic memory, and then
Yeah,
And
it made-
also,
There we
It
go.
made me look cool for a second, so I appreciate that too. But no, seriously, he was really, really good today, and honestly, a really good leader. I can see this guy being a future coach, the way he was coaching up other players out there too. But first of all, he's got a great NFL career ahead of him first. I'm really impressed with Michael Taaffe. Again, I understand the speed and the measurable concerns, but this guy's been a dominant safety for Texas for 2 years in a row now. I would take this guy somewhere in the NFL draft.
yeah, he's not just a fun story who, from Austin, Texas,
Right.
gets to walk on with the Longhorns, not only gets on scholarship, but also becomes a starting safety for them. And you mentioned back-to-back years where he's had over 80 PFF grades this past year, 89.4 coverage grade, very low missed tackle rate of just a 9.3%. Wasn't able to get his hands on the football as much as he was the year prior, but that's sort of the life of a safety. You don't always have those opportunities. And you mentioned the communicator that he was when we were watching the red zone drills and we were kind of standing there in the ed zone. Defensive coordinator, calls in the play, and he's the one on the back end who's communicating with the other defensive backs. Obviously, the linebackers communicating that as well from the DC, but then Michael Taaffe is also sort of explaining alignments and what they're doing in coverage and everything. So, really smart football player and somebody who was able to be a very impactful coverage guy at Texas over the last couple of years. He's beyond, in my opinion, he is beyond just like a good story. He is a good football player.
Definitely.
Instincts, IQ, and you mentioned it with the big hit on whichever tight end that was. He plays with a reckless abandon.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's undersized, but he's one of those guys that's undersized and plays really, really angry, right? And I think another big thing that's going to help him in the draft process, likely on day 3, is the fact that he has a ton of special teams experience.
Yes.
He's a guy you are not worried about putting on special teams and him giving you 110% effort. That's going to be a big factor in him getting drafted on day 3.
Dalton, who's your third guy?
Another receiver that I had mentioned to you before we got here that really intrigued me the more I watched him, Kevin Coleman Jr. from Missouri. I want to shout him out because I thought he's had a really good. He didn't have as flashy a day as Cyrus Allen did today, but I think he's had a really consistently good week. Another guy works in the slot a lot, blazing speed. The quickness at the line of scrimmage stands out. I think especially again in those red zone drills. There was a couple of reps even in red zone team drills where he didn't get the football, but you could see the one-on-one route running chops maybe on the backside of a play where it's like, man, he's open. You could have looked that way and you had him on the goal line easy. Like he's just got great feet, great change of direction, underrated contested catch ability as well, and he's another one. You want a guy who's going to return kicks for you right away as a day 3 pick, maybe an early day 3 pick. I think Kevin Coleman's that guy. We were really impressed with him at Mississippi State. He transfers to Missouri. The quarterback situation wasn't great throughout the whole season, but he found a way to produce anyway, and I think with his speed and his quickness, you can use him a lot of different ways, both on offense and on special teams.
Yeah, I mean, you were seeing in the clips there that we're just playing. I mean, if you don't get hands on him early, it's over.
Yep.
I mean, he's way too quick. He's way too smooth. He'll get up to his top speed very quickly, and a great route runner as well. So if you take a look at him on the big board, 79.9 overall receiving grade this past season, very high yards per route run at 2.23, contested catch rate 81.8. So it's good to see him with that sort of a number, drop rate all the way down to 2.9%. And so I think the question mark with him is just always, will he be able to catch through contact? Will he be physical enough? And I think we'll get that question answered soon enough in the NFL. The final guy that I'm going to shout out, well, we're going to shout out a couple of names, just rapid fire to wrap up the show here in a few minutes, but Jaden Ott, the running back from Oklahoma. It's really hard to stand out as a running back at these events, especially before the game and the practices. You can't, it's contact, but it's not full contact. You're not taking guys to the ground, and that's half of what running backs do, but the main way that you could stand out as a running back is, one, as a receiver, when you get into the team drills, and then 2, pass protection drills. And Jaden Ott had some reps, not just today, but I'm going like full week, where you see him one-on-one against some of these linebackers, and he is standing them up. He is super strong, and I really liked Jaden Ott going into the season. He was my RB2 or 3 because I was so excited about who he was when he was at Cal, when he was healthy, and what he could be in Oklahoma's offense. And he had an injury over the summer, and I don't know if it was just he just wasn't right.
It was a weird year
or
for
maybe
him.
it was just like, hey, the injury wasn't right for him, and then he kind of got passed on the depth chart for these other running backs, but he barely played this year when he was at Oklahoma. But I think he's got NFL ability to him, and so it was good to see him out there showcasing that doing the hard stuff, if you will, the dirty work stuff from Jaden Ott.
He was a freaking superstar, Cal. When he transferred to Oklahoma, I was like, that's what they need. It was, again, very weird. I think a lot to do with injuries, but a lot like Caleb Banks, too, who barely played this year due to injuries, comes out here to the Senior Bowl and goes, hey, this is why I'm a really good football player and should be a high NFL draft pick. I think Jaden Ott, you're right, Trevor. I think he reminded a lot of people like, hey, I'm still a legitimate NFL caliber running back right now, and I thought it was a good week for him, too.
The 2023 version of Jaden Ott is the second best running back in this class.
Yes.
I really believe that.
Yes.
24, dealt with bad offensive line, playing a lot of injuries this year. A lot of mystery as to what happened there, but the talent is all there. You talk about you don't want to give this guy a crease. He's a home run hitter. He's got one-cut ability. He runs hard. He's got good vision between the tackles. If he can just stay healthy and put all that together, I know it's been a while since we've seen that version of him, but I really mean that. That version that we saw 2 years ago is one of the best backs in this class.
Yeah, I mean, 2023, over 1,300 rushing yards, 5.3 yards per carry average, 12 touchdowns, and he even almost had 200 yards on 33 targets and 26 receptions. And so Jaden Ott in 2023,
year, right?
I believe it was. Yeah. So he was fantastic then, and obviously you see on the big board the numbers aren't great from this past season, but if he can get back to anything like he was in 2023, we're talking about a really good football player, and I felt like we saw flashes of that today. All right. I didn't miscount. Right, I'm not missing anything.
I'm good.
Got all three
up, 3 up, 3 down.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to give some quick shout-outs. Hey, we're always getting better. That's what practice is all about. We got some quick shout-outs that we're going to give just for the day 3 guys and then some overall thoughts here on the week. But before we get to that, if you guys have not seen the PFF player prop tool, if you're a bettor at all whatsoever, you got to check out what it has to offer. See it.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.
You guys can see that and so much more if you have a PFF Plus subscription. Subscribe.pff.com. Best way to get that. Fellas, let's wrap it up with some rapid-fire names, performances throughout the week. I'll start. Quintavious Hutchins from Boston College is somebody that I did not know at all going into the week. And I look at the measurables for a lot of the guys before they get out here on the field, and I go, edge rusher, 6'2.5", sub 230, 229, not great. Not going to like him. I like him. I do. Now, obviously, with a player who has a lower weight, like we've talked about for a couple of these guys, you have to win with speed. Kevin Coleman, Kyle Lewis, right? Like, if you are smaller, you've got to be fast. You've got to be plus athlete when it comes to that explosiveness. And as an outside edge rusher, I absolutely thought that he was. And there were a handful of run defense snaps where I thought he was showing plus power for his size. I'm watching him do the bag drills and the individual position drills. And, you know, he's getting around the bags. He's dipping up. He's getting under. You know, he's so flexible. He's got good bend for his size there. So this is a player who is not on the PFF big board right now, that when I get home, he's going to be one of the first guys that I watch to get on the big board, because I felt like he was somebody who flashed this week as a speed rusher.
I think the story of the biggest story of the entire week was just how dominant the defensive line was as a unit for both teams. That was the best position group here by far. You talk about a guy like Hutchins, who you're going to find a place for on the board, but the stars like Lee Hunter and T.J. Parker. Then you got guys like Zion Young and Derek Moore, L.T. Overton today, like you mentioned. Just the talent of defensive linemen in this draft and even at this event, even with some of the big names that we didn't get here, it's just an unbelievable level of talent and depth. I think that to me was the number one story, was the defensive lines really for the most part dominating on all 3 days.
Yeah.
So who else you got?
Real
quick. Doesn't have full analysis on guys.
Sure.
But
Bud Clark was, again, a superstar.
Awesome.
Again. Yep. I mean, I shouted him out yesterday, which is why I didn't want to shout him out today, because I want to get different players here on the show. But Bud Clark has made himself a lot of money this week at the Senior Bowl. Tanner Kozio had an unreal catch down the goal line,
Climbing the ladder. Yeah.
Dalton's guy right there. There's a bunch of guys I really like this week. So, but I think Derek Moore, Bud Clark, those are my two probably biggest winners of the week so far.
I think a huge winner for me, I'm going to go back to the wide receivers, and I know he had a couple of drops today, but I thought he still looked really good running routes. Malachi Fields from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He was arguably consistently throughout the 3 days, he was arguably the best receiver here. 6'4", more fluid than I thought he would be in his tape. And I want to go back and maybe look at his tape one more time to just see maybe Mike Denbrock's route tree for him at Notre Dame just wasn't that diverse. He showed a lot more route running chops than I thought he would. Contested catches, we already know he can do that, right? He had the great catch over the middle, down the middle of the field yesterday from Taylon Green, but I really think Malachi Fields might have gotten himself into that solid mid to late day 2 range with the way he played the last 3 days.
Offensive linemen, the last two names that I'll shout out, Max Ionichur from Arizona State and Sam Hecht from Kansas State. I thought those were the best offensive linemen from day 1 to day 3. To me, Hecht immediately stood out, but Ionichur, day 2 and day 3, dominant.
Yep.
He barely lost any reps, and so anybody who is really looking to bet on his athleticism, size combination, you saw it all come together here. I felt like he was the best offensive tackle through the 3 days entirely, and then I thought that Hecht was the best interior offensive lineman, and those are two guys that big-time stock-up players for me.
Yeah, Zion Young, again, was a menace.
He was as advertised, to be honest with you. We went in thinking he might be top 50. Yeah, he's top 50.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other one, a running back that I thought was pretty good out here, too, Seth McGowan. I thought, it's like a lot of guys that, when you watch the running back drills, kind of looks the same for everyone. It seemed like he was moving at a different speed than almost every other running back in attendance, too. So I thought, out of all the running backs, Seth McGowan, the one from Kentucky, was my favorite one so far.
McGowan was good. Mike Washington was good in spurts. He's really physically imposing, around 230 pounds. I thought Jamari Taylor ran well from Virginia today, too. Saw some good vision in the team drills, and he's one of those guys who just finds a hole and really gets the yards that are afforded to him, right? He's not a flashy back. He's probably an early day 3, round 4 type of guy, but Jamari Taylor is very, very reliable. I thought he showed that today as well.
Appreciate everybody watching all of our Senior Bowl coverage that we have done throughout the week, these last 3 days. Everybody that's followed the social channels, make sure you guys continue to do that throughout all of draft season, because we're going to be pumping out the best draft content there is. We're going to wrap this all up with a mock draft, a post-Senior Bowl mock draft, as we always do tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And Max was... What?
We got to shout out the security lady that's been here the whole time.
That's very true. Allie, who is working as a volunteer helping with security here at the Senior Bowl. She was helping us get our table ready and everything throughout the beginning of the week. She came back and she said, I want you guys to show afterwards. So, Allie, hope you watch this one as well, because we're giving you a shout out here. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the volunteers that helped out around Hancock Whitney Stadium putting on this event. It is one of our favorite things to do every single year. So shout out to everybody who does such a lot of great work to put this event on. But Max, I was saying that you mentioned yesterday, T.J. Parker being somebody you were like, okay, yeah, I think that he's going to be the first, Senior Bowl player drafted. I think in our mock draft tomorrow, I think we're getting multiple Senior Bowl players in the first round. So I can't say for sure. I'm not going to have full control of the mock draft. You guys are going to be involved in it too.
Michael Taaffe, first round. LT Overton.
Yeah, LT. Well, right. Mental Taaffe number 1 overall. I mean, the Raiders, have no choice but to get that leadership on their team. But it'll be fun to break down a brand new first round mock draft with you guys. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. For everybody behind the cameras who did a great job all week long putting these shows on, we appreciate you guys. For Max Chadwick, Dalton, Wasserman, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you once again for watching our Senior Bowl coverage, and we will see you for the mock draft tomorrow. See you guys then.